in collaboration with Melavelli, who is the creator of Dragonball Absalon. I am dropping brand new merch in honor not only of 300k, but in honor of Melavelli's Dragonball Absalon. We have Absalon Goku on 2 different shirts, 2 variants. We have Absalon version 1 and version 2 with the symbol on his back in the traditional Goku pose. I'm gonna leave a link to it in the description below and the top comment. Go ahead and check out the new BlackScape store where we're gonna have new merch dropping throughout 2021. Make sure you go ahead and grab one of these shirts because they are only up for a limited time only. Let's go ahead and jump into today's Dragon Ball Absalon video. Whenever I'm asked to think about what was the first Dragon Ball fan manga that I actually read, the answer is always Dragon Ball AF by Toyble or Toyotaro, who now does the Dragon Ball Super manga. But when I'm asked the same question for Dragon Ball fan animations, the answer always is Dragon Ball Absalon by Melavelli. Now, this Dragon Ball fan animation is one of the OG, if not the original Dragon Ball fan animation on YouTube. It really set the standard to what new Dragon Ball fan animations actually were, and it gives us an insight into what the world was like before Dragon Ball Super. Dragon Ball Absalon takes place right after Dragon Ball GT, right after Goku leaves with Shenron and everyone says goodbye. And so this whole theme, the exact time period, and just the vibe that Dragon Ball Absalon gives is exactly what the fanbase was thinking about when it came to Dragon Ball, at least renewed Dragon Ball, before Dragon Ball Super was a thing. So Dragon Ball Absalon is really a time capsule in the Dragon Ball fan animation community and the Dragon Ball fandom as a whole, because it shows us exactly where we were before we got Super Saiyan God, Blue, Golden Frieza, Jiren, and Goku Black. So before Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball in the hearts and minds of the Dragon Ball fandom was edgy as fuck. And some of y'all may not like that, but for me, I think there is a place for edgy Dragon Ball, and Dragon Ball Absalon absolutely crushes it. So welcome to my new series, guys. I am going to be reviewing every episode of Dragon Ball Absalon from the very beginning to where it currently sits. So sit back, relax, and let's go ahead and jump in past the grand tour. So the episode begins with the departure of Goku from Dragon Ball GT and Vegeta talking to him about exactly where he's going. Now, it is unclear whether Goku will return, but of course these stories always bring Goku back. So Vegeta decides to leave as well. He makes his own capsule with Bulma and ends up leaving the planet. That way he can find new power out in the cosmos, which he eventually does. And that is where we jump into the Dragon Ball Absalon intro, which I just gotta say, the vibe that I get from the Dragon Ball Absalon intro is what I would have hoped the Dragon Ball GT, the American one, was. There's this relaxing, lofi style intro song that just fits so well to not only the theme of Dragon Ball Absalon and the feeling of Dragon Ball Absalon, but it's just extremely relaxing, and it's something that I would have loved to see as a kid when I was first watching GT. A new threat arises and is heading straight to Earth, and so Dende is the first one to see it, and he wants to warn the others, and we get a glimpse of what Goku is doing in wherever he went. He's already an adult at this point. He got his body back, essentially becoming what he was in Dragon Ball Z, and he is in the middle of training, and it is unclear whether Dende called him or he is going to come on his own volition or through Shenron, but more than likely he will be part of the story. But we get a cut to South America where Oob is living with his children, playing video games, and his wife is Pan. Now, Oob and Pan are a believable ship because they're around the exact same age. They're not that much apart when it comes to age. I think maybe like 5 or 6 years. So it isn't too crazy to think that a 20-something Pan would be with a almost 30-something Oob if that's how much time had passed and they have children together at this point. The only thing I don't like is that I wish that some of the girls in Dragon Ball Absalon actually came in and had some screen time. I haven't seen the rest of the episode, so that may be the case. But in this episode, it seemed like the dudes are the ones that are answering the call against these new invaders, because Pan takes the children and leaves, and we never get to see if Bulla also jumps into the fray. We get to see Goten, Trunks, Oob, and even at one point we get to see future Trunks come back from the future to jump into the events of Dragon Ball Absalon. Now, as the heroes are assembling to the epicenter of exactly where these pods landed, which ends up being France, I do gotta remark on the fact that Melavelli, the Dragon Ball Absalon creator, decided to put the world of Dragon Ball Absalon in our world when the Dragon Ball world is completely different than our world. It's almost like a completely different Earth. But I do think that it is an interesting choice. It does bring it more to home when the villains land in France, when you're training in the Himalayas. It does kind of ground it a little bit more in reality, but at the same time, it's not exactly the Dragon Ball world we know, so this could be an alternate universe after the events of Dragon Ball GT. So the villain that lands is very much that edgy style of old Dragon Ball fan art. He is very much looking like a villain straight up out of one of the Dragon Ball Z movies or one of the Dragon Ball Z video games, the ones that are non-canon. And I think his design looks pretty good. Not sure if he's supposed to be Frieza raised, but I much more enjoy the design of his two henchmen because I feel like they're far more unique. Now, the one that's my favorite is the smaller henchman. I like that they bicker back and forth. I like that they're not completely unison, but they still listen to the leader.
Sizzly has something wrong in the brain.
Shut up, fool. Don't make me break you in half.
Razzle's so scared. Sizzle always seems to forget that actions speak louder than words.
They have the third army of purebloods. But these halflings will suffice.
Now, it is unclear exactly at this point what the main mission is, but part of it apparently is to capture some of these Saiyans alive, which is exactly what this guy wants to do. So the small dude, whose name is Razzle, gets confronted by Goten and Trunks, and he immediately attacks them but leaves no damage. So it shows that this guy really isn't that powerful, but he's doing something that I really didn't understand what he was doing at first. He was setting up these boxes to shone light into the sky, but we're not really clear as to why he is doing this until he says that it's time for them to meet the real masters of the universe, and that is when the real Saiyans come through. So these are OG full-blooded Saiyans that can transform into a Super Saiyan. So apparently somewhere in the Dragon Ball Absalon universe, the Saiyans have formed their own empire. Maybe Saiyan survivors have transformed into Super Saiyans, and these are absolutely the Saiyans that we've seen from the Bardock special, where they're a lot more gruff, they're a lot more intimidating, they look more Neanderthalic, they are far more evil looking than the ones that we got in Dragon Ball Minus. And the final shot has future Trunks landing, and he says that he is too late. We begin episode 2 with Sizzle, who is the henchman to the unknown evil warrior, and he is in the ice caps looking for what seems to be Broly space pods. So their mission, or part of their mission, is to find a full-blooded Saiyan, and that full-blooded Saiyan is Broly. So I actually really like this part because there isn't much action going on here, but there's a lot of technology and detective work going on with Sizzle. He's relying on his technology to not only find the pod, but he also scans the pod for Broly, what Broly was sitting there, Broly's heat signature, or his body, whatever he left behind, what it was sitting in this pod. He actually finds it, and then he finds a hair that leads him to believe that this is Broly. He scans it, yup, that is Broly, and he sends the information to his boss. So yeah, it looks looks like Broly is the objective for these guys, including the Saiyans that came through the wormhole in the last episode. But before Sizzle can really capitalize on his findings, he is attacked by Oob, who is just sitting on the corner of this ice block looking badass as fuck. And this shot right here, I've seen this shot so many times in artwork that I had no idea that it came from this episode at all. So it just shows how Dragon Ball Absalon has influenced the Dragon Ball community as a whole. But this is also really interesting. This isn't Oob, this is Majoob, which is the fusion between Boo and Oob. So it just shows how much more powerful this character actually is, and he probably has a lot of the same abilities that we've seen recently in Dragon Ball Deliverance's version of Majoob, but he quickly overpowers Sizzle and proves to be too powerful for this lowly henchman to take on his own. And then Sizzle says something that is extremely interesting, and he says this:
"You're not here as a tourist, so what do you want from us?"
We are here to fulfill our duties. We did not come to destroy this planet or to shed blood of its inhabitants. It is strictly prohibited.
So Majoob is actually trying to figure out why they are there, and Sizzle says that they have strict orders not to hurt anyone, really. They're really just there for their own mission to accomplish it and leave the Earth and its inhabitants alone, not to shed any bloodshed and nothing like that. So I like that the bad guys are really strict to their code. They have a mission and they're not going to go out of the boundaries of that mission to cause any further bloodshed, which I really definitely like. And then of course we get into the fire-ass intro. We cut back to Goten and Trunks, who are facing off against the Saiyans that came through the wormhole, and then Goten says this bullshit.
"I'm not afraid, but I can't keep my body from shaking. It's like I can feel the pressure of their power."
Bro, every single story has Goten being such a pussy. It is unbearable, but as you're gonna see here in a second, Goten is scared of these Saiyans. His body seems to be scared. I think maybe he's partly scared and excited, but you'll see that he had nothing to worry about. He's not at a deficit for power at all compared to these guys. So Goten wins rock, paper, scissors and is facing the youngest member of the Saiyans. But before the battle actually starts, future Trunks throws his claymore, his cloud style sword, at present Trunks and lets him get the sword so he can fight off against Razzle, who also has a sword, also has a weapon, and we get a really cool scene of them fighting. It is unclear whether the present day Trunks knows how to use a sword or not, but I guess he does, and in future Trunks kind of give him that sword to be able to fight off against this foe. And Goten faces off against the Saiyan, who is the youngest of the squad, and his eyes turn black for an unknown reason, but I'm sure that's going to be explained soon. And Goten quite literally is beating the fuck out of this guy. He is completely destroying him, and with one punch he basically takes him out of the fight. Now this animation came out in 2013, and the fighting choreography, the fighting animation, it almost feels like it came out in 2020. It is extremely well done. I love the shots of Goten just running across the floor, and he is fighting this dude in almost like a Naruto-esque battle and just tossing him around like a rag doll. He is so much faster than this guy, so much stronger, and has such a better form and technique that he is just making child's play of this Saiyan. Goten lands a Kamehameha wave on this dude, and it is by far the most brutal Kamehameha wave that I've ever seen in either Dragon Ball or a fan animation. And what I'm saying is that it's not the Kamehameha wave itself, it's the after effects of the Kamehameha wave. He literally singed this dude's hair off all the skin on this dude's body is completely burned, including his tail. I have never seen such a devastating and brutal beatdown in a Dragon Ball property, whether it be fan-made or whether it be official. This is pretty gruesome stuff. The dude is completely out of the fight at this point, and he has lost to Goten, leading to what I'm assuming is the captain trying to challenge Goten, but also trying to recruit him at the same time. But the soldier that Goten defeated won't take his shame standing down, and he still wants a crack at Goten, trying to get his superior to let him fight him. But the superior has such a great monologue here that it almost feels like it's pulled out of Bleach or something.
Yes, it is painful, but I brought you up. Wear your defeat proudly. Self-abasement comes with a profit. If you let it be processed, you will become stronger. Shame and defeat are both parts of battle. The experience will make you powerful, and eventually, you will be defeated no more.
Sir!
My patience is running thin, soldier.
Goten is ready to face off against the captain, and that is when the defeated soldier injects himself with something, transforming himself into an Uzaru that can also transform into a Super Saiyan. He regains all his fur, so I'm assuming that since he regained his fur, he's got golden fur too. Maybe when he goes back to normal, he gets his hair back. Maybe this is a way to heal himself. I'm not exactly sure, but he powers up and the devastation destroys everything around him, and that is where we end off with episode 2. There is a recap, and the announcer sounds very similar to the one from Dragon Ball Z.
Powerful though they may be, can the protectors of Earth combat this new threat? Find out now in episode 3 of Dragon Ball Absalon.
So Goten defeated the Saiyan soldier, and in his defeat, he injected himself with a serum and transformed into Uzaru against his captain's wishes. Actually, his captain even says at the beginning of this episode that if I had known that you had taken this vial, I would not have brought you with us, which honestly, it gives a lot of added context to the villains, that they really weren't looking for bloodshed or terror or destruction when coming to the planet, which is really against what the Saiyans were all about, at least this version of the Saiyans from the Bardock special and the original Dragon Ball Z. But I am curious why they are trying to mitigate destruction and keep the integrity of the planet intact. But because this dude's Uzaru, he is turning against everybody, and he turns against his own captain because he is drunk on the power that the Uzaru transformation has given him. So this forces the captain to transform into a Super Saiyan to be able to dodge the attacks coming from the Super Saiyan Uzaru. Wait, hold the phone. This is something that went past me completely at first. The first time I watched this, I thought that it was just a color change due to the explosions, but then I had to rewind because I was like, you know what, did I really miss that? I went back and I saw that this dude quite literally transformed into a Super Saiyan Blue. His hair went blue, his aura transformed as well, there was a poof of ki around him, and I'm like, my jaw dropped when I first saw this. This is Super Saiyan Blue. But this is well before Super, so let me dive into this. Basically, Super and Resurrection of F both came out in 2015, the same as episode 3 of Absalon, and actually Absalon is sort of sandwiched between the release of Super and Resurrection of F, so it's right in the middle. But the Absalon trailer for episode 3 came out in 2013, 2 years earlier, and you can argue that Resurrection of F probably had a few years of production behind it. I don't think that Super probably had that long behind it because they were coming out with episodes like weekly, so I'm assuming that they were just kind of producing them a few months in advance and just doing it that way. Definitely Resurrection of F had at least a year or so behind it before it finally came out. But I think that Absalon came up with Super Saiyan Blue. This is obviously Super Saiyan Blue. Yeah, this is crazy. I don't recall, but I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments section below if I am. If there was any other instance of a Super Saiyan Blue in animation or a fan manga or something before Absalon. Let me know in the comment section below if this is the case. But as of right now, this Absalon came up with Super Saiyan Blue. Now the trailer doesn't have Super Saiyan Blue, so it just seems that both Absalon and Kira Toriyama both were thinking of the blue hair as the next Super Saiyan transformation at the same time, if not giving a slight lead to Absalon, which is crazy. I just thought I'd point that out. It's phenomenal, honestly. This is why I love the fan community, because we come up with everything first. We definitely do, and I thought that Toriyama was just pulling for Multiverse at first and Dragon Ball AF, but it looks like, you know, there's some cross here between Absalon as well, so go figure. This is awesome. An awesome find. Completely made my day. So after the captain delivers a devastating blow to the Uzaru, his attention goes back to Goten and Trunks, who both transform to Super Saiyan 3s, but it's not enough to combat the power of the Uzaru. You actually kind of feel the weight and the intensity of a Super Saiyan Uzaru, which I definitely like. I like that there is some grounding here as to how powerful this Grade 8 form actually is, and he defeats them essentially in a ki blast, a ki struggle, forcing Goten and Trunks to transform, or to fuse I mean, into Gotenks. Which, to be honest, this is the most drip Gotenks I've ever seen. Look at this jacket. This is Gotenks dripping hard. Yeah, this is a good design. I like the upgrade on the fusion, the Metamorise fusion technique. So the villain goes to Raditz's grave, pulls the skeleton out, and reforms it into seeing exactly what it looked like when it was alive. I think he's trying to find pure-blooded Saiyans, and that is when Gohan stops him from doing whatever it is he was about to do. Now again, the sound design is very well done in the action, the music, and a lot of the voice work. The only little critique that I have is this dude's voice has this echoey feature on it, and I know all about that because that's kind of how my voice was tuned when I first started YouTube on BlackScape or Dragon Ball Black back in the day. But it's hard to understand him sometimes until I put on the subtitles to see exactly what the conversation he was having with Gohan. And essentially Gohan is saying that he is a Saiyan, that he is defending this planet, and the villain really doesn't understand it. But once Gohan discloses that his father defeated Frieza, this dude starts getting a little bit more serious with the notion that there is a powerful Saiyan on the planet, at least a pure blood, and he throws a Pokeball that opens up a portal similar to the last couple episodes, and this new Saiyan villain comes through that looks like a far more twisted version of Vegeta. And actually, if I gotta be honest, he looks like that one Joker from the Batman series, just in Saiyan form. But apparently this is the leader of the Saiyans, which I find fitting that he looks very much like Vegeta, but he is far more sinister looking and sounding than Vegeta ever was, and this guy is his henchman. So I'm thinking that this dude is a robot, an android of some kind working for the Saiyans, similar to the other two that he brought along. Oh, and there's one thing that I have to mention, is that Absalon is the name of the Saiyan world that these Saiyans fled to after Frieza destroyed the planet Vegeta. These guys went to planet Absalon and formed a new Saiyan society, and this guy has given Gohan, well, his father, the thanks for killing Frieza, but at the same time, because his father intermingled with the populace of the planet and created half-breeds, this guy cannot forgive him for such a delusion. And yeah, you could tell that these are the Saiyans from Dragon Ball Z, definitely not the Saiyans from Minus. And that is when we finally get into the fight between this dude, the lieutenant of planet Absalon's armies, and Gohan, and it is a really cool fight because Gohan has such a refined technique, and this guy's ability to fight is very much similar to how Broly is. Very rough, very chaotic, more of a brawler and a boxer than a esteemed martial artist. And so Gohan pushes himself into the ultimate form again. He says that he lost it when he stopped training, but once he started training, he gained it again. And the android kind of sees Gohan as one of the most highly potential Saiyans he's ever come across, because this mystic form is absorbing ki from the planet itself. So if he actually was aware that the form has done that or does that, then he could become the most powerful Saiyan in existence, because he would absorb the ki around him, and basically giving him a very Moro styled effect, which I like this extra little bit of lore for the mystic form. But it does underperform in this battle because the Super Saiyan version of the Lieutenant is so much stronger than anything we've seen before that even the Mystic Gohan version doesn't really have much of a chance in defeating him, and they are fighting basically on equalish terms, but for the most part even Mystic Gohan is being pushed back, and I honestly wish that Mystic Gohan had a little bit more oomph in this delivery, even though he does give a serious beatdown to the Lieutenant for a small second. And so the episode ends with the Lieutenant delivering what could be a finishing blow on Gohan, and that is the end of Dragon Ball Absalon episode 3. So episode 4 of Dragon Ball Absalon came out a few months after episode 3, and I'm not exactly sure if they were both being worked on at the same time and then they just kind of cut the episodes to have episode 3 and 4, or in those few months did Melavelli actually create this episode. Either way, it shows in some of the quality when it comes to the art and the speech, the dialogue, everything connected to this episode. There are some moments where you can tell that the quality has dipped a little bit, and a few frames that definitely seem rushed where people are missing clothing, but for the most part, this episode is really well done because of one moment, and I'm going to show you that moment here in a little bit. One of the most badass Super Saiyan 4 transformations I've ever seen. Now, I'm on record as saying that Dragon Ball Deliverance has my favorite Super Saiyan 4 transformation of all time, with Vegeta transforming into a Super Saiyan 4 in front of Broly while declaring himself the Prince of all Saiyans in front of the monster. This, in my opinion, is still reigning king, but if this is reigning king, then this is the Prince of Transformations, because it happens to a character whose name I don't even know, but he quickly has risen to become one of my favorite characters in this series. So as opposed to every other episode that we've gotten so far, the intro actually happens at the beginning of this episode as opposed to having some footage and then the intro. To me, I can take it or leave it. I do the same thing on my channel sometimes where I have a clip of what I'm talking about, then the intro, or I just put the intro in the very beginning. It doesn't really matter to me all that much. But when we start off the episode, we have the newly made Gotenks about to face off against the biggest Oozaru that I've ever seen. Like, this dude is humongous. This gotta be like a brand new type of Oozaru specifically made for Dragon Ball Absalon, because he dwarfs the regular Oozaru that we've seen in either GT or Dragon Ball Z. Now, Gotenks has a little bit of a funny banter back and forth with the General, and the General is kind of intrigued and a little bit mystified as to what the abilities that these half-breed Saiyans are bringing to the table. I think that this is going in the direction where the General is going to have a little bit more appreciation, or at least the full-blooded Saiyans are going to have a little bit more appreciation for the half-breeds, because that seems to be the whole main plot of the entire arc: half-breeds versus full-breeds. Now, when Gotenks transforms into a Super Saiyan 3, that's when we start seeing a little bit of a dip in the animation style, because I'm assuming that the time constraints on this episode made it almost have to be rushed quickly. You start seeing little errors in the animation, specifically this shot right here where you see Super Saiyan 3 Trunks without his cloak. You start seeing attacks start disappearing, Gotenks shooting at nothing. It is very, very varied in the animation animation style up to this point, but this is a very small nitpick to a larger, more consistent animation style that we've seen. Now, this Golden Uzaru fight versus a Super Saiyan 3 fused character, to me personally, I am not a huge fan of Uzaru fights versus smaller creatures. I don't really like that in Dragon Ball to begin with, where it's almost like a kaiju versus a regular person. I didn't like it when Goku faced off against Hiradragon. I didn't like it when they faced off against the giant creature that almost ate 18 in the Tournament of Power. But in this sense, in this shot, in this animation, in this episode, it is actually pretty interesting because Gotenks is using abilities and techniques, focusing on the fact that he's much smaller than this guy and he's trying to hit him in weak spots, but the guy is just so much more stronger than him, and this injection that transformed him into a Golden Uzaru really has propelled his power beyond anything that Gotenks can comprehend. And once his power starts stabilizing, like the general says, he begins to stabilize, I realize immediately which direction they're going with this. And the reason that his golden state is so strong, it is to show exactly how much stronger he's about to get when he goes into Super Saiyan 4. It's supposed to power level the Super Saiyan 4 transformation, and this is by far one of the best transformation scenes that I've ever seen when it comes to a Super Saiyan 4, because this is just art. Check it out.
So this is what real power feels like.
So I do note that the lengthwise of this transformation scene is kind of long, but it is absolutely worth it when you see exactly what comes out the other end. And this guy who was completely defeated by Goten, he had his skin and his hair burned off, and he couldn't take his defeat lying down. He wouldn't take his defeat lying down. He injected himself with something he's not supposed to have that was gonna make his captain pissed off, and then used it to transform into an Uzaru, then transform into a Super Saiyan 4. I'm assuming that is the transformation process for the Super Saiyan 4s on Absalon, and it just adds so much to this character whose name I still don't know. I haven't even bothered to go back to the first episode or second episode and look for it, but he's still really badass, and he gets a really cool scene here where he is transforming from Great Ape to Super Saiyan 4. In my opinion, this is done way better than in GT. We cut to Capsule Corp and we see that the animation style again has dipped. Not exactly sure why. Again, I'm thinking maybe it was rushed. Not 100 on that, but it is a cool concept what we're seeing in Capsule Corp, because this is the next generation of Z Fighters. We have Oob and Pan's children, we have Vegeta's children. Remember, Vegeta ended up leaving, but he has another daughter, and this one has pink hair. She is the youngest of all of them, and so this is the next generation of Saiyans, and they get targeted by one of the full breeds, the pure Saiyans, to be taken back to Absalon. And considering that there are only children and women in this facility that are half-breeds, yeah, this turned real dark real quickly. Going back to the main battle, Gotenks can't even land a punch on this guy. It's basically Krillin versus Cell all over again, and the guy uses a really cool ability where he kind of has like a Gatling gun. He shoots it at Gotenks, and Gotenks actually gets shot in the arm. I definitely think it's cool that this key attack works very similar to the way bullets work, but this supremacy on the battlefield doesn't last very long because the Super Saiyan 4 warrior, he starts collapsing into himself. His arms start getting real big. It looks like the Super Saiyan 4 transformation hasn't been properly infused in him. Maybe he's not ready. He was never ready. So before he starts to fall apart similar to Zamasu, he tries to destroy Gotenks with one more devastating attack. This attack, of course, could kill Gotenks, but Gotenks has a trick up his sleeve. He blocks it with a ki shield and a ki blast that he threw up in the air earlier in the fight. He still had it up in orbit, and he shoots it down in the dude's blind spot, severing his head from his shoulders, and that is the end of one of the coolest unnamed, or at least I don't remember the name, characters that I've ever seen. And this pisses off the general enough where he goes Super Saiyan Blue, but a new character, a new foe pops up to stop him from transforming into this godly form. We don't really know what the form is yet, and that is the end of episode 4. Dragon Ball Absalon, episode 5.1. Yes, so this is the part of Dragon Ball Absalon where the episodes start getting broken up within chunks. So you get 5.1, 5.2, and 5.3. Now, I watched 5.1, and there is enough story in this episode to warrant its own video, so I'm going to break them down as they came out. This one comes out 8 months after episode 3, and the quality is superior without a doubt. I'm assuming that this decision was made mainly due to get the episodes out at a reasonable pace with really good quality, because this is by far one of my favorite fights that I've seen in Dragon Ball Absalon up to this point. Now, one of the huge nitpicks that I have here is that this episode does not have the intro at all. Yes, that is correct. RIP intro. I am so sorry. Now I can completely understand exactly why this was made, because the intro is really long. Actually, it's quite long when it comes to intro standards, so it would make sense for them to cut it out. That way each episode is under 10 minutes and comes out at a reasonable time, reasonable pace. But I would like to see the intro come back in future episodes. This episode is called Deliverance. Now, although I am sure this is just a coincidence, I like to think that the creators of Dragon Ball Deliverance were watching Absalon and got some inspiration from it, including this episode that is called Deliverance, and maybe that's what they decided to run off, but I'm not exactly sure on that front. We begin this episode with the fight between Majub and Sizzle, and right off the bat, you can tell the quality of the episode is far above the previous one. So I'm thinking that the previous one was sort of rushed as a full almost 20-minute episode, and that is the reason that the quality dropped. So Malavelli decided, let's go ahead and have each individual episode come out in small chunks. That way you get 5.1 and 5.2, etc. And you can kind of keep that same quality that he wanted to keep with a longer work schedule, because these couple episodes only come out a few months after each other. It makes sense that he was taking the time between each individual part of the episode to up the quality, because this, again, is one of my favorite fights. It is fast-paced. It looks exactly on par with some of the animation that we've seen in 2020, 2021. It could easily fit alongside the animation that we see with Dragon Ball Deliverance, and Majub is just making this dude his bitch. He even grabs him at one point by the neck, pushes him on the ground, and curb stomps his face with his fist, throwing him and then doing a Sasuke / Rock Lee style move and burrow him into the ground. Now, when he begins to power up and unleash more of the Buu energy, that is when Sizzle starts recognizing him for what he may possibly be, but he believes that it is impossible because this creature was pure evil and definitely wasn't defending planet Earth. but this hand-to-hand sequence, guys, this is the best hand-to-hand sequence that we've seen in Dragon Ball Absalon up to this point. It is quite reminiscent of Kakashi versus in Naruto Shippuden, and not only is the quality up, but the choreography is also up as well. Plus, I like that Ki Blasts actually do some physical, noticeable damage to the characters if you catch yourself unlucky enough to be on the receiving end of one of these. We still continue with that theme when Majub hits this guy point blank range with a Ki Blast. I hate it in Dragon Ball Super. You get hit with a million Ki Blasts and your shirt's just a little bit dirty. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So I definitely like this little add-on. Plus, we get to my favorite part here. Just like Dragon Ball Deliverance, after him, Majub is using Majin techniques against his opponent, even being able to stretch his body in ridiculous ways, similar to the Buu creatures. Now with this particular version of Majub, he seems to have the Buu creature, Kid Buu, locked away deep inside of him, similar to Naruto's Kyuubi, as opposed to in Dragon Ball Deliverance, where it is almost a part of him where he can talk to him and kind of call him for aid when it comes to battles. In this version, it's far more of a demon. But we get backstory to Sizzle, which I did not see coming at all, where he removes his helmet and he's got the Majin sign on his forehead. He was a servant of Babidi, but he broke away, cutting the sign in half, very similar to a shinobi's headband when you leave the village. I just love the symbolism here, but we get to see exactly what happened when Sizzle was a kid, and Buu almost killed him until Babidi called him away. And this shows exactly his connection with Majin Buu and why he recognizes Majub's power signature. So Zizzle uses his last resort and uses his ability where he essentially makes a sort of vibrating bat-like noise that is almost like a dog whistle, where it fucks up the equilibrium of said characters, and this is his final attack. A really interesting attack, a really cool attack, honestly. Not exactly sure how he was planning on killing him like this, but it definitely fucks him up enough for him to call on Oob deep down inside. And I love how his belt, it starts glowing because it is meant to hold Buu inside of him, but it's beginning to break. It's beginning to release Buu at a concentrated level, and this is where we get Majub transforming into Kid Majub. I'm not exactly sure what you would call this transformation, but in one shot, in one significant blow, he punches right through Sizzle and shoots an energy beam right through him with his fist, killing Sizzle on the spot in the most violent way possible. Like, he treated this henchman, who actually put up a good fight, in the most disrespectful fashion, and I'm here for it. Majub is a beast, and that is the end of today's episode. But there is not only an end credit scene, but there's also a manga that goes along with all of Dragon Ball Absalon. There's a few separate chapters that delve deeper into each character that I will be focusing on as soon as I'm done reviewing the animation. But we get the end credit scene where we have Zykor, for some reason, with Vegito, and Zykor has just killed a bunch of Saiyans, and Vegito is there to stop him from killing any more, even though Zykor feels like it's kind of weird that Vegito is here trying to stop him from killing weaker characters because Vegito is a Saiyan. So I did not know that Zykor was even in this story, but it looks like Zykor, I mean, this story takes a lot of influences from Dragon Ball AF. The fact that we get Zykor back is also really neat. I definitely think that he's one of the most popular Dragon Ball fan-made characters, so seeing him here and seeing him in this story, I'm hoping they're not biting off more than they can chew, but I definitely like seeing him here in this story if he's implemented correctly.
I'm not a little kid anymore! I'm 10 years old now, remember? I know you probably think I can't do anything, Master Krillin, but I'm not a little kid anymore.
Shut your bitch!
We are back with more Dragon Ball Absalon greatness. And before I jump in, make sure to check out yesterday's episode of Dragon Ball Absalon, where we see Majub absolutely devastate this Absalon minion. Make sure you go ahead and check it out. I'm gonna leave a link to it in the description below and the top comment. Check out that video. But today we are doing something unprecedented, and that is we are going to be putting two parts together in one solid video. Finally finishing off episode 5, because episode 5 was broken up into 3 chunks, 5.1, 5.2, and 5.3. Yesterday we covered 5.1 and it was long enough and extensive enough to kind of warrant its own video, but today we are at 5.2 and 5.3, and 5.2 is very short and 5.3 isn't much longer. So I'm going to put both of them together because I feel like they both are part of one single story. But don't worry, we have plenty of Absalon left to cover. Now 5.2 deals with Rukia, which is the son of Gohan. So Gohan has had a daughter in Pan and has had a son in Rukia, and he's being trained by the great master Krillin. Now Krillin's design is almost 100% from Dragon Ball Multiverse's Krillin, where that Krillin becomes a master to the next generation of Z fighters, except this one has a Monopoly Man mustache. I'm not exactly sure if Absalon took the design from Multiverse, but it is a very common look for Krillin anyway in the fandom when it comes to fan art and stuff, so I could see that it was possibly implemented from both sides at the exact same time. But Multiverse is a little bit older, so it is possible that this version of Krillin was taken from Multiverse. But personally, I don't really like 5.2 that much, not because it is an episode where there isn't any action at all. It is because it is a very contradictory episode. So Rukia is kind of a coward, but Krillin fears, even though he is a coward, that he is going to jump into the fray and try to fight off the villains alongside his dad. And then Rukia cements the fact that he is a coward by telling us a story about how he's scared of dogs, and then he realizes that there is a huge threat on the planet and his father is fighting it, and decides, you know what, I don't care if you think that I'm weak, I'm not a little kid anymore, and he jumps into the fray trying to fight off these villains who are beating the shit out of their dad. And even transforms into Super Saiyan in the process, having Krillin chase after him, which not really sure if Krillin could catch up with the Super Saiyan, but that's neither here or there. I don't really like this episode because, again, it is very contradictory, so it doesn't really give me a full readout as to who Rukia is, and I'm not exactly sure what his intentions are. Is he a coward? Is he not a coward? It's very confusing. The one thing I do like, though, is that the voice actor for Rukia sounds like the original Gohan to a very high extent, so I definitely like that the VA went in that direction. It definitely feels like young Gohan vibes. I'm definitely getting those very heavy. Now, the beginning of 5.3, we jump right back into the action, and the quality of the fight scenes are back on. It is Gohan versus the general of the armies of planet Absalon, and Gohan isn't really doing that good in the last time we saw him, and we catch up from the moment that the general ended up slamming him into the earth. And when Gohan hits impact, he actually gets knocked out, and then we get this really cool scene of him waking up with this dude on top of him.
I once had a platoon at my disposal. If I had said, pour yourself into the abyss and die for me, they would not have dared to question my command. If I longed to drink from the depths of the sea, they would have gone, even if it had meant being drowned and swallowed into the heart of the ocean. Such is the loyalty of a true Saiyan.
So this entire story shows the disdain that the pure-blooded Saiyans have against half-breeds. They don't see them as full Saiyans, and I am kind of curious as to how far this goes, because they obviously don't see the male half-breeds as full Saiyans, but the other general was about to steal the children of the half-breeds and steal the women and bring them back to planet Absalon. So it could be possible that there is a shortage of women on planet Absalon and they need more to continue the population and keep them going. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe they have a way to make them more purebred. I have no idea. But this guy completely hates half-breeds, and he is one that is willing to kill all of them in trying to destroy Gohan. But Gohan actually takes another hit and he's back to fighting shape. So it looks like the guy kind of caught him off guard before, but now he's ready to kind of take it up a notch and face off against the general on his own terms. And Gohan does that in what I think is one of the coolest and sickest moves that I've ever seen in a Dragon Ball animation. But it doesn't go further than that, and that is the problem with this. So we get an entire scene of Detective Gohan studying his opponent and actually trying to figure out what his weakness is and what his attack pattern is. Very Piccolo-esque. Piccolo and Gohan, the reason that they make such a great team and the reason that he makes such a great sensei for Gohan is because Gohan was always really smart and really intuitive, and Piccolo is a strategist. He's always been a strategist. So him passing down his Sun Tzu qualities to Gohan, it definitely makes for a really cool fighter, and that's kind of the Gohan that I really like to see. And Dragon Ball fan mangas and fan animations always do this type of Gohan justice. And in a very Rock Lee fashion, Gohan loses the weights that he had on his arms to kind of unleash all his power, because he's ready to destroy this guy and he's trying to figure out the best way to do that. And they have a very Dragon Ball Z-esque standoff where they're kind of just looking at each other, and Gohan, in a moment's notice, I love the after image effects, but he completely dominates this guy who is only in Super Saiyan 3, and Gohan seems to be going into the depths of his mystic Ultimate Gohan form, trying to end the fight as quickly as possible. And so this guy can't even see Gohan coming. The general is at a complete disadvantage, and Gohan is treating him in the most disrespectful ways as a fucking ragdoll. And this is the moment that the general fucked up, and he ends up blocking this Masenko, which is very reminiscent of a Kamehameha wave. He ends up blocking the Masenko, and Gohan is 2 steps ahead of him, because in a split second he goes and he teleports, vanishing from the moment of producing the Masenko, and does a Kamehameha wave point blank range. He catches the general off guard, hitting him with a Kamehameha blast right in his back. But even this isn't enough to take him down, because the general comes right after him again. But Gohan knew this was going to happen. It was going to frustrate him, and since the guy's attacks are linear, he ends up quickly dodging it, pushing the general into trying to transform into a greater form, which is exactly what Gohan predicted, that the general was going to go into a greater form to try to mitigate the difference in power. And at that point he would be the most vulnerable, and Gohan catches him and flings him over the shoulder, trying to break his neck. And even the android realizes that these are the tactics of a master tactician. These are the tactics of somebody who has a lot of promise as a general on planet Absalon. But unfortunately, Gohan was far too weak to actually pull it off and break the dude's neck to kill him, because he could have killed him right then and there. Instead, he ended up paralyzing him, breaking his neck, and making him a quadriplegic. And even the android says this is his folly. I'm sorry guys, but this would have shamed Goku. Goku would be ashamed of the fact that Gohan couldn't even pull the trigger on such a devastating force and kill them. Gohan had all the advantages to kill this guy, and he didn't. And before you guys come up in the comment section and say, well, Goku, you know, he kind of dropped the ball a lot and, you know, kind of didn't kill people and all this stuff. No, that is Dragon Ball Super Goku to the larger extent, and to a lesser extent Dragon Ball Z Goku. Remember, Dragon Ball Absalon takes place after GT, and so Goku from Dragon Ball GT, Gohan's father, was doing shit like this.
Taking away my sight still leaves me with 4 very sharp senses.
The Super Saiyan 4 transformation really has made Goku a lot more serious and has made him a much more pragmatic and devastating fighter. He doesn't actually give people chances as much as his normal selves would. And so he would be ashamed of the fact that Gohan really kind of gave this guy a shot, because as you guys see right here, this is the second time we've noticed that the Super Saiyan 4 transformation is healing people. It healed the first guy as he first initially transformed into a Super Saiyan 4 and brought back his skin and his hair, and this guy whose whole spine was broken, as soon as his body transformed to a Super Saiyan, he's healed back up. So the Super Saiyan 4 transformation is being used as something that could be healing devastating attacks and devastating wounds, and this is why Gohan is going to lose, because this guy at Super Saiyan 4 is completely destroying and overpowering Mystic Gohan, even having enough time to tell him about a half-breed who had failed him, going deeper into the story he was kind of alluding to earlier. And of course, Gohan and the General have different thoughts on exactly what the value of fear actually is. And the General says, if you think you're right and you find fear as an asset, then I'll show you what true fear actually is, and transforms into a Super Saiyan 5, taking down Gohan in less than 2 seconds. And that is when Rukyo comes to find his father defeated, and he attacks the General right there on the spot.
I don't know what they did, but somehow they became one Saiyan.
Ah, a new technique, Karifuawa. Is it worth learning?
It seemed to increase their power exponentially.
Who are you, half-breed?
I finally found out why the intro was cut for Dragon Ball Absalon, because in the last few episodes it was missing, but in this episode it's actually back, but it is cut for a reason, and I'm gonna go ahead and show you exactly why. Let's see if you guys can figure it out. Fuck you, copyrights. Copyrights ruin everything on YouTube. Yes, the song absolutely has been copyrighted, because that's the only way that a song gets removed from your video. If you get a copyright strike and you can't monetize the video anymore, you have to scrub the song to get it back in good standing, and that's exactly what seems to be happening with this, because the song, as you guys can see, is completely silent. So yeah, the intro, I mean, it's sad to say, but if I was Melavelli, I would definitely not put the intro back into the videos, because it could get you fucked up, it could get you jammed up, and he worked really hard on this story, on these animations, so yeah, you don't want to have all your work get flushed down the toilet. But today we are back with Dragon Ball Absalon episode 6.1 and 6.2. These two are short enough to be smushed together into one episode, and these two episodes have a lot of information about exactly which direction the story of Absalon is going. So let's go ahead and jump right in and catch up on what the Absalon crew is doing at this moment. This episode is called Incarcerate, well, both of these, and basically the theme is that the Saiyans are trying to capture more Saiyans to bring back to planet Absalon, and we cut back to Gotenks, who has just been challenged by a brand new opponent, and this one maybe could be the reason why everyone is here from planet Absalon. He could be the leader, because he just looks like that royal kind of look. And so he asks Gotenks who he is, and Gotenks of course is still trying to goof around, play around, and honestly I never really liked Gotenks because of this, but it's not so bad here honestly, because he kind of gets back into a serious mode. He's got a good mix-up of being serious and goofy, and I definitely appreciate that. But the Saiyans are really curious about what was the technique that Gotenks employed, and I like this a lot. I like the fact that they have no idea what these techniques and abilities are, but they are open to them. They're not shut off from, you know, oh, I can't gain power that way. No, he's open to swelling his ranks and making his forces stronger at any cost. So he's not as close-minded as Vegeta is, who doesn't want to fuse. These guys actually see a benefit in possibly fusing. Gotenks attacks this new general, and the general sidesteps it with ease, and then stabs Gotenks in the neck with the same injector that the guy at the beginning who injected himself after being burned alive, he put himself through, and the one that the last general dropped on the battlefield as well when Gohan didn't kill him. This seems to be some sort of serum that pushes you into becoming a Super Saiyan 4, either by pushing you straight into Super Saiyan 4 or making you go through the Oozaru transformation. So of course, as soon as Gotenks gets hit, he's completely down and forced into a Super Saiyan 4 transformation not of his choosing. Not exactly sure why he decided to do this and give this serum to his enemy to make him more powerful, but Gotenks tries to use it to his advantage, but still is not strong enough. And then this guy, the general, I think his name is Tamanegi, he gets Gotenks in this Omega Shenron sort of grasp where he's holding him on his back, and then he shoots Ki Blast through his back and through Gotenks, popping off the fusion and separating Gotenks, knocking them out of the fight and being able to incarcerate them easily. Now this is what I'm talking about. The fusion technique, the fusion dance, the Potara fusions, absorbing other characters become stronger. This has been a staple of Dragon Ball for a very, very long time, and I for one am glad to see that Dragon Ball Absalon has taken an approach where they aren't going that direction for more power. They're using the fusion to gauge how powerful the enemy actually is. So the Super Saiyan 4 version of this general is strong enough to take out a fused warrior like Gotenks, and it definitely shows exactly how much stronger these guys actually are. But they also aren't ignorant to the possibility of how much stronger they could be with the fusion technique. So it's just a conversation one has to have as to how they actually gain strength. Do they gain strength in their own form without trying to fuse and become as strong as possible through their myriad of transformations? Or do you go the quick and easy route and just fuse like everybody in Dragon Ball Super does, Goku and Vegeta and Goten and Trunks and other characters? Do you just fuse to become stronger? I like fusion characters, but I do like to see them get taken down and taken down a few pegs by a non-fusion character. So I definitely like the direction this is going. Dragon Ball Absalon episode 6.2, we follow the Saiyan that's trying to kidnap all the women and the kids from Capsule Corporation. And the dude powers down to base, realizing that these are all weaklings and he doesn't really need to try to fight them, and he feels comfortable enough and evil enough to spell out his master plan as to how he's going to use the half-breeds, how the army is going to use the half-breeds in future conquests, and basically they're going to be frontline fodder. Bulma ends up releasing security drones to try to take out the Saiyan. Of course, this isn't going to do much, but they are actually making a dent in his key shielding, so the robots are actually doing some damage, but the dude quickly takes them out, and that's when everyone realized that they're fucked because they can barely take out these robots on their own, at least the kids can't, and so they are at a huge disadvantage as to how to fight this villain. But as Bulma's daughter explains, they are lucky that he's not taking them very seriously, because in that Super Saiyan 4 transformation, he could easily destroy all of them. So basically, the consensus is that if you can defeat him in his base form, then you may have a shot at actually winning. And Oops kids jump back into the fray, trying to take the dude on head on, but Pan stops them right then and there because they are no match and they are obviously going to get killed.
You hurt my daughter!
No, but seriously, this is what happened.
Mom? Mom?
How dare you! That's my power!
Yes, we are in Dragon Ball episode 6.3. We are finally nearing the end of this iconic series, and the continuation of this is that Bra finally jumps into action, attacking the Saiyan who slapped the shit out of Bulma. Unfortunately, she isn't even close to being strong enough to do anything about it, but we do get some dead or alive jiggle physics when it comes to Dragon Ball Absalon. I mean, come on, this is crazy. Bra swears that her father will put an end to the Saiyans. Why would she say that, you may ask? Because she believes that he still has a claim to being the prince of all Saiyans, and this pisses this guy off because to him, Vegeta is a traitor that decided to go off with Frieza and become his lapdog, which is exactly what ended up happening before Vegeta decided to do his own little revolution. And unlike other series, Bra isn't the most powerful female Saiyan in this squad, and Pan squares up with this guy in a sequence that I think has really good animation. I just think that the backgrounds are a little strange because it almost looks like an unfinished, unrendered version of like a Pixar movie or something before they add all the textures. That's kind of what this background looks like. The city looks unfinished, but the actual fighting animations are actually pretty dope in my opinion. And so she's actually doing pretty good against this Saiyan, and it looks like they're all like the same students, similar to Gohan, because they all seem to have those weighted gloves that Gohan had and removed in order to fight his own Saiyan. And Pan is just kicking this guy's ass. Honestly, this is the content that we needed. We needed Pan like this. This version, the Absalon version of Pan, I really do like this version of Pan. I like the way that she looks. I like that she is essentially looking kind of like she's going down the same turtle school as everybody else, but at the same time she's learning techniques from like MMA and boxing and stuff like that. But what ends up happening is that the stakes get turned up a lot because the Saiyan finds out that his son has just been killed by Gotenks, and in so doing he decides to fuck it. He transforms into a Super Saiyan 4 because he's not playing around anymore, because he is in pain because his son has passed away essentially, and he starts destroying Pan and her children. Pan declares that Oob is gonna come and take this guy down a notch, but he is no Saiyan. He is the guardian of the earth. She's got to put that in there, and the Saiyan just laughs off, you know, because it's hilarious, it's amusing that he's not really doing a very good job at defending not only his family but the planet Earth. Pan can't feel Oob. Even though Oob did win his fight, it could also be that Oob is completely taken over by Boo, which is going to be an interesting fight once he comes to decimate this guy. But with no end in sight, Pan does the unthinkable, and she ends up charging a beam at her own children, intent on destroying them so this guy doesn't kidnap them and use them for whatever nefarious reason. So she is completely intent on destroying her own children so they don't fall into the wrong hands. And this shows that Dragonball Absalon is losing its mind. This is crazy. I don't know if this is on brand for Pan or not, trying to destroy her children, but she completely snapped, and she'd rather them be taken out by her than be put in torture and pain by the evil Saiyans. But fortunately, Bra's little sister comes in to help and save them before Pan destroys them. But this little moment really gave the old Saiyan a new appreciation for Pan, because even though she's a half-breed, she's got the pride and soul of a full-blooded Saiyan. And that is when the fight gets interrupted by future Trunks. So this whole scene plays out with not only future Trunks, but a future Gohan, and they're both time patrollers. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of show you guys the direction that Dragon Ball Absalon is going and how out of its mind it's about to become. Just check it out.
The convention was signed.
It's not operative outside of Absalon.
Bullshit! It's a universal law.
The Constitution was amended.
Even with Irion's coup, he can't change the law on his own. He needs to be endorsed by the ministers.
Silence, boy. You don't comprehend the situation very well. The people wanted it.
Fools! Did you catch him? I spotted him, but their lives are more important than his capture, so I came here first. He's going to try to come here for Bulma's technology.
That was not the deal.
Trunks will deal with him.
Can you confirm it?
No.
You cannot incarcerate him. He falls under our authority.
So the Saiyans are protecting Razzle, which is the small little alien that came at the very beginning of Absalon, for their own means, because he is furthering their cause, the reason that they're there. And Razzle is actually a criminal who's trying to get a hold of Bulma's technology for his own reasons. Now, the Saiyans are breaking universal law for being there, so that to me makes me believe that Absalon takes place in a different timeline or a different dimension, because the Time Patrollers are involved and they are telling them that they are breaking the law. So these guys don't seem to have the full weight of the Absalon government behind them. It seems to be like a coup or a small force that came out here on their own to do their own thing and kind of further their own cause, and that is something that the Time Patrollers will not stand. Now, I gotta tell you guys, I love this outfit for Trunks, but I fucking adore this version of Gohan. This gruff, older, future Gohan is what I needed for my soul today. This actually looks just like, very similar actually, to the OC that Daita Damochi just made a video about, Absalon versus El Hermano. The name Absalon's already in there, and this guy looks exactly like future Gohan from Absalon. So not sure if Daita Damochi actually took that character or made a new character, or like that version of Gohan made himself a new OC, gave him the name Absalon, which is a badass name, and then just kind of made a series about it in his own way. Or is this something that is a kind of connected tissue to Absalon, or something that has been approved by Melavelli, which it wouldn't really have to. Obviously this is all for fun, but at the same time I'm curious to see the connection there. But yes, I absolutely love the fact that the Time Patrollers are here, and this story just got so many different layers. Like, people are complaining that Dragon Ball Super's manga and the story are just rehashing things from the past, rehashing Broly, rehashing Baby, and not really doing anything particularly new, bringing Frieza back for the 100th time and all this sort of things. Yeah, Dragon Ball Absalon and Dragon Ball fan animations as a whole and fan mangas, they always think outside the box. This is the content that my brain needed. This is the content that my endorphins needed. Because I'll be honest, I'm not very excited for the way that Dragon Ball Super's manga is going with Chestnut, or whatever the fuck his name is. I'm not really excited for it as much as I should be, because it doesn't feel like it's new. They may go a new direction, they may splice the story up a little bit and make it a little bit different, but at the end of the day, it's still just Baby. So that's why I give so much praise to the fan animations and the fan mangas, because they do such a better job at telling a brand new story, and this is as brand new as it gets. You have Saiyans from a different world, different powers, facing off against the characters from the future of GT, and now we get the Time Patrollers in there, and Pan almost killed her own offspring. Like, this shit is crazy. Dragon Ball Absalon has gone insane. Anyway, guys, this episode ends with the declaration of war between the Saiyans and the Time Patrollers, because the Saiyans believe that not only are the Time Patrollers there to fuck up time, but they're also there to stop them from doing what they're doing. So, of course, they declared war on Time Patrollers, and again, they used the Pokeball method to summon a new Saiyan Bay, maybe? I don't know. And she's meant to take the children and kidnap everybody, and then this guy is going to face off against the Time Patrollers, and this has me hyped up for Episode 7.
The Earth is in trouble again, and I need your help.
Again. Gohan and Oob are there, and better yet, Vegeta. They should be strong enough to protect the Earth by now.
Today we're going to find out exactly why Shenron took Goku away in Dragon Ball GT. I've always had my own specific theory as to why this was the case, and Dragon Ball Absalon sort of delves into this, explaining why Goku had to leave. So I'm going to get into that in just a second, but make sure you go ahead and check out yesterday's video on Dragon Ball Absalon Chapter 3, Episode 3. Go ahead and check it out. I'm going to leave a link to it in the description below and the top comment. That way you guys are all caught up. But before I jump into this, I am going to leave the floor to Melavelli, the creator of Dragon Ball Absalon, and his special announcement.
Wait. This is an announcement for reaction videos. If you react to this video, I see it as an honor, but there are two basic rules to react to this. 1. You can watch until the warning mark, and you will hear this sound. And you will see the mark on the right side of the screen. Or 2, you watch the whole video without the visuals. Thank you for your support, it's really appreciated. Ciao, Melavelli.
So I'm pretty sure I don't fit into the category of reaction videos. This is more of a video essay / review, but I'm going to go ahead and respect Melavelli's wishes, and when this icon pops up, I'm going to stop reviewing this episode. Hopefully the next episode will have a recap as to exactly what is going on in this episode or at the end of this episode. But I don't fully understand or agree with cutting off the potential for this work to be reviewed or reacted to in this sense, but a lot of animators and fan animators, they do this because they want their original video to get shared, and a lot of reaction YouTubers, they kind of do the lazy thing and just watch the video, barely talk to it, and then just kind of give their insight at the end, which in my opinion you might as well just watch the original one at that point if you're not really even getting a reaction to it. So I can see why. Anyway, we begin Dragon Ball Absalon episode 7 with the introduction of Piccolo in Hell, and Goku finally for the first time in this series other than episode 1 is showing himself. He has come to recruit Piccolo for a chance or a crack at saving planet Earth another time. But Piccolo, in the right way to say it, is basically laying out the fact that Gohan and Oob should already be strong enough to defeat any character, any creature that comes to the planet for destruction, which is true. In Dragon Ball GT, these characters are at a level that is the Omega Shenron level. Not all of them, but for the majority of them, they're pretty strong, so they should be able to contend with all these villains coming from the universes. But it seems like the Saiyans from Absalon more than likely came from a separate dimension. So this is an unprecedented moment, even though I agree with Piccolo that he shouldn't be getting involved, essentially since he's trapped in hell. But Goku has a different theory that they should jump right in head first. Now, Piccolo makes the claim that Goku is breaking universal law by even getting involved because Shenron took him away for that specific reason, to not get involved anymore. So with the advent of the Shadow Dragons, the breaking of the Dragon Balls, I can see why Shenron took Goku away, because he is the main catalyst for the events that happen in Dragon Ball, essentially. I mean, if you really want to nitpick it, maybe it was Bulma, but Goku is the main character, so I get why Shenron would take him away, so that way he couldn't cause any more trouble with the Dragon Balls. I mean, they've been wishing back thousands, if not millions, billions of people with the Dragon Balls and making all sorts of selfish wishes, so Goku has really put a target on the Dragon Balls. And then the whole Shadow Dragon saga happened, and I can see how Shenron, by universal law, took Goku away, and it's almost like Goku got dealt a prison sentence as opposed to him just leaving in GT, because in Dragon Ball GT I always thought he left with Shenron because of that reason, because he wanted them to have a crack at the planet, at saving the planet on their own. But I never imagined that it was a prison sentence, that Shenron was taking him away to cut him out of the equation, and by going back he is going to be breaking universal law. So it's a really interesting turn of events, and I definitely like the direction that this is going, with Goku possibly, I mean, not only doing time in Otherworld with Shenron because of the crimes that he's committed, but at the same time he's basically doing a prison break to save Earth once again. So the Time Patrollers face off against the Saiyans from Absalon, and we get the information that not all the Saiyans on planet Earth that are coming in this incursion, they're not all working on the same goal. It doesn't seem like the non-Saiyan characters are on the same page either, although they are aware that one of them, Razzle, he is there trying to look for technology that he can get his hands on. Now, this technology is to go between dimensions, which would mean that Absalon is not safe because it is in a different dimension. And this guy does not understand it, does not believe Gohan's claims that there is even technology like that on planet Earth, even though there is. So Gohan tries to break through to this character, but he isn't having it, and again uses the Pokeball to summon a brand new Saiyan who comes out to take on the girls, and we get one of the most epic moments in Dragon Ball Absalon history. Go ahead and check it out.
Gohan, we have to go back to the city. Razzle will be there any minute. Go ahead, I'll catch up.
So as Trunks faces off against the original Saiyan that Gohan was talking to, Gohan faces off against the new combatant that came, whose main mission was with another party of Saiyans, the Super Saiyan Blue that we saw. He comes back, and this is where Gohan also transforms into a Super Saiyan Blue. Now, I am not the biggest fan of the God transformations, although I do like Super Saiyan God quite a bit. Super Saiyan Blue was not one that I cherished wholeheartedly, but in this fight sequence where you have two characters at Super Saiyan Blue level, or at least they call it here God Ki, with God Ki inside of them, fighting against each other, and they're not training, they're not sparring, they're actually fighting a death battle, you really get a sense at how high the stakes are, how much is on the line, and how crazy this fight is, because Gohan is kind of on the ropes for the majority of it, because this guy seems to have different and brand new ki abilities that not any Dragon Ball character is aware of, specifically hardening ki blasts so that way they are sharp and they cut right through their enemy's skin. That's something that Gohan did not see coming, but he's trying to deal with it the best that he can, and even as Saiyan combatant, he is intrigued as to what Gohan's fighting style actually is, because he's never encountered anything like that before. But even though he is intrigued, he says that there isn't much substance to it, it's just all flash and no muscle, no results, no delivery. The female Saiyan easily rounds up the children, and it looks like they're going to be taken back to Absalon, and oh, I can't go any further than that. We got the dinger that says that we cannot keep reviewing or reacting, essentially whatever, to this episode, unfortunately. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave a link to this episode if you guys would like to check out the remainder to see exactly what happens between the fight between Super Saiyan God, essentially. I don't think they ever call it Blue. You know what, I'll call it Blue. Super Saiyan Blue Gohan versus this general who is also a Super Saiyan Blue. Go ahead and check out the original video, or wait till tomorrow's episode, who will more than likely have a recap as to what happened at the end. Again, it kind of sucks that we can't keep reviewing it, but I understand why this has been done.
If I tear the flesh from your bones, might I learn more about myself?
Based on the body count around you, I'd say you've done more than enough learning for today. But I guess there's always room for one final lesson.
Oh, well, you seem to think that I'm not much of a threat to you. But these corpses here might beg to differ.
This conversation between Zycor and Vegito sounds exactly the same as the one from Megamind.
You can't trap justice. It's an idea, a belief.
Even the most heartfelt belief can be corroded over time.
Justice is a non-corrosive metal.
But metals can be melted by the heat of revenge.
It's revenge, and it's best served cold.
But it can be easily reheated in the microwave of evil.
Well, I think your warranty is about to expire.
And we are back with Dragon Ball Absalon. As you guys can tell, the intro has returned, but this is almost like a mini filler episode between the grander story. It is the book of Zycor versus Vegito, and this one has a lot of backstory to the ending of one of the episodes where we did get to see Vegito and Zycor begin to start talking, and it left on kind of a cliffhanger and we never went back to it. So today we are going into this brand new episode that is going to tether the episode to the rest of the story, hopefully. And if you missed yesterday's video, go ahead and check it out, Dragon Ball Super, but it looks like Dragon Ball GT, where F Burning took one of the best outros for Dragon Ball Super and made a GT version. Go ahead and check it out. I'm gonna leave a link in the description and the top comment. Let's go ahead and jump right in. So the premise to this entire scene, this entire sequence, is that Zycor has just annihilated a bunch of low-class Saiyan warriors. I'm assuming this was a scout party, as he says later down the line that they were asking for his name, and Vegito is the one that confronts him. And when Vegito confronts him, Zycor realizes that Vegito's energy is extremely familiar. It feels like something that he's seen before, and that's when Zycor reveals that he does not know where he's at or remember his history at all. And honestly, it is dubious to even think that he doesn't even remember his own name. So with Zycor just being thrown into the story, I'm telling you right now, nothing makes sense anymore, because this would mean that this is Zycor from Dragon Ball AF, and the fact that they talked about different dimensions in this means that Dragon Ball Absalon is going in a direction where they're taking characters from different fan manga stories, fan animation stories, and bringing them to this world, which I believe that this is Absalon, because where else would there be Saiyans with the original Saiyan battle armor? But we don't actually get the explanation whether this is Absalon or not, and if Vegito is permanently fused or 30 minutes to an hour fused. We don't really know any of those details, but we do get an entire exposition dump by Xicor telling us all about him not knowing anything, the true Saiyan way of killing people and killing weaker beings, and we get a lot of Vegito asking the same questions. When I said earlier that this entire sequence reminds me of the one from Megamind, it really is. It feels like a one-up, each scene, each character talking. They're trying to one-up each other with information that the other one doesn't have, or asking questions that the other one needs to know. And that's when Vegito asked the important question, and that is if somebody wished Xicor back. Not exactly sure why Vegito asked him this question unless he knows who Xicor was and how he was defeated, but it doesn't seem like he does, so I'm not exactly sure why he asked him if he was brought back or wished back when it isn't completely obvious whether he even belongs in this dimension to begin with. But we do get one of the coolest lines from Xicor, and I would say right from here on out, all the dialogue coming from Xicor is really cool.
Did you die and get brought back to life?
Death, defeat. I'm afraid I've tasted neither. A fighter as strong as I rarely encounters such things, I'm afraid. But perhaps I can learn something about defeat from you.
And when Vegito finally asks Xicor's name, Xicor, just like the Saiyans that he slaughtered right in front of him, he refuses to give the name to Vegito, and Vegito sort of lets this chick die. I'm assuming Xicor used his full force to step on her head and crush her, but yes, she is completely gone, and now Xicor and Vegito are about to face off in a battle that, in my opinion, probably should have gone a little bit longer, but it's still satisfying nonetheless. Now, as it says on the screen, this soundtrack was made by Saiyan Enigma, who is a Dragon Ball centric composer, YouTuber composer, who hasn't made videos in quite a while, but he's still a huge name in the Dragon Ball community, and this song is called Xicor's Theme, Dragon Ball Absalon. To me, these are the type of battles that I like to see when it comes to anime, specifically Dragon Ball, and a lot of Dragon Ball fan animations do the exact same styling where there are a lot of frames. It is very kinetic, very fluid, almost seems like a Naruto Ninja Storm slash Dragon Ball Z Kakarot style fights when it comes to the actual button mashers, where you're going from point A to point B, adding different moves, and just flying all over the map fighting. It is a really cool fight between these two characters. I just wish it was more clear and more apparent as to why they are fighting in the first place, because none of this makes sense at all. If Xicor is on Absalon, then why aren't the other Saiyans who have invaded Earth going back to deal with him? Do they know that he's on Absalon? Why is Vegito on Absalon? Is this in the future or the past? Why are the Saiyans that Xicor killed so easily not as strong as the ones that we've seen coming from Absalon on planet Earth? There are a lot of questions that need to be answered, and a lot of questions that get brought up once you actually get into this Dragon Ball fan animation. So I finally figured out the secret of Dragon Ball Absalon, and it was a little confusing for a few episodes exactly what the Saiyans from planet Absalon were actually after, but I figured out all the players, and I want to go ahead and do a rundown right here. So Saiyan Squad A was the original Saiyan Squad that came through that faced off against Goten and Trunks initially. They are the ones that first came through the wormhole. Now, Saiyan Squad B, these are almost like anarchist Saiyans. These Saiyans are the ones that are trying to bring death and destruction to everyone. This one faced off against Gohan, and he is trying to be the top dog on Absalon. Now we have the non-Saiyans. This squad is the catalyst for both Saiyans coming back to planet Earth, and they are there for some technology, not only for Absalon, but for themselves as well. And these non-Saiyans are being protected by both Saiyan parties as well. And then we have the Time Patrollers, who are essentially trying to stop the non-Saiyans from getting technology that they're not supposed to have, while the Saiyan Squad A is trying to stop them because they are basically threats to the entirety of all timelines. According to the Saiyans from Absalon, they do not like the Time Patrollers. And then we have the Z Squad, the GT Squad. They are here to stop all of these invaders besides the Time Patrollers from invading planet Earth. Whew, that was complicated. This is a little bit of a complicated story, but let's go ahead and jump into episode 8 and see exactly what is going to happen with all these conflicts on future Earth. So the entirety of the intro to episode 8 is essentially us seeing exactly what happened with this guy, the one that was the weakest of the Saiyans from planet Absalon, the one that Goten defeated single-handedly and had to inject himself with some sort of serum to become a Super Saiyan 4, and then he basically lost control, and that is when Gotenks was able to kill him. His father figured out that he was dead after facing off against Pan, went into Super Saiyan 4 and defeated everyone very easily, and now his father is after revenge for the death of his son. After this flashback, we get another flashback, and this one is something we actually haven't seen before, and it is the story of the weak Saiyan and how his father watched as, per protocol, he was deemed too weak to become a soldier, and that they were going to sign his funeral papers because either A, he was going to die on his own, or B, they were just going to get rid of him because he was too weak. And it was the father's decision as to which way they were going to go, but as his father is staring down on him and sees that he actually has some fight left in him, he's clenching his little tiny fist, he realizes that his true desire is to become more powerful, and he is going to accomplish that and fulfill his son's wish to make him more powerful. So it gives us actually a really sad look into these villains and what their purpose is in being here, their backstory. And as he remembers this, he cracks a tear and he goes at Trunks with full force. Now, this Trunks fight is interesting in the fact that Trunks is using his blade weapon in the beginning of the fight, but ends up losing it. And once he loses it, he really isn't that good at hand-to-hand combat. Not against this guy, to the point where he gets his leg chopped off with a karate strike. Now, the design of Trunks as Super Saiyan 4 is far more interesting to me, and the reason for that is because his fur is kind of like this grayish bluish color, and it's cool to think that each Saiyan in Super Saiyan 4 could possibly have their own sorts of color for their fur, because not all of their fur seems to be red, because I don't think this is a superior form to everything else, seeing as how he is losing to the Super Saiyan 4 villain. Trunks actually is heading back to Gohan, as Gohan is also defeated by his opponent. It looks like the Z Squad and the Time Patrollers are so much weaker than their Absalon counterparts, and the interesting part about Absalon, it's that they on Absalon seem to be, at least in the past, in the flashbacks, it looks like the Saiyans from Absalon are normal ass Saiyans from planet Vegeta, but at some point in time, Absalon Saiyans become far more powerful when they go into the Super Saiyan 4 transformation, where their eyes turn black and they just look far more evil and sinister, and obviously they're far stronger than not only the Z Squad, but the Time Patrollers as well. Now, Trunks runs up to Gohan to fuse with him, and these guys allow them to fuse, but instead of using the fusion dance, they end up using Potara fusion. Now, I do like the prospect of Trunks and Gohan fusing together to become one, because I've already made a video about a fan manga of that, but at the same time, I like it because we always get to see Goten and Trunks fuse together, and thinking of a Gohan from the future and a Trunks from the future fusing together like the one ones from the History of Trunks movie or something, like them fusing into one warrior. That would be pretty badass to see. So it is nice to see it here, and Gohan is worried about the strength and power of this new warrior they're about to create, but they have no other choice, and when they fuse, they basically transform into what would be a Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta with the orange fur and the orange hair, but parted out with blue hair. But as he transforms, he has the power of not only Super Saiyan 4 and Super Saiyan Blue. Now this is the original Super Saiyan 4 God transformation. Remember that Young Gigi did make a Dragon Ball fan manga of this, where Goku in Dragon Ball GT meets Goku Black and then himself transforms into this exact same transformation, but that came out much later than this. This, in my opinion, is one of the first instances that we see Super Saiyan 4 God in Dragon Ball Absalon. Of course, Dragon Ball Absalon is ahead of the curve, and all it takes is one punch into the guy who lost his son, who goes flying into space, and he is essentially defeated as Trunken ends up facing off against the general on his own, hitting him with a Kamehameha strike. Now I kind of wish we saw some battle damage on these guys. They don't seem to be getting hurt by these attacks, but at this point in time they do seem like they are overpowered by the new fusion. And that is when the Saiyan who lost his son, he asked the general, why did my son have to die? Why did he die? This is not a mission of conquest. We're just trying to get the Saiyans to come back to planet Absalon with us. And the general responds with, they don't want to come back. They don't want to come back to planet Absalon. All they want to do is fight. These Saiyans are different. They want to create with the native species of planet Earth. They want to have compassion in their hearts. They want to defend this planet and possibly their universe. They don't want to come back to planet Absalon with us. And once that becomes clear, the general shows the new guy all the events that happened, the new players on the scene, and why his son did what he did, and, you know, injecting him with the serum that he cannot possibly handle. And basically he gets a recap as to the last 8 episodes of Dragon Ball Absalon. Now Trunken finds them again to finish them off, but they have a secret weapon up their sleeve where they can make powerful weapons out of ki, but these powerful weapons are detrimental to their growth in their Saiyan bodies. It basically takes their Saiyan abilities and magnifies them into weapons, but their growth is completely stilted and it could be extremely harmful to their progress as Saiyans, essentially. So they decide not to fight, not to use them, and basically to retreat away from Trunken. We finally find a character that can deal with these guys, but they kind of gotten already what they're after. They came for Saiyans, they got the Saiyan children, they got Pan, they got Bola, they are fine. So they end up leaving on that cliffhanger, leaving Trunken by himself, realizing that they were completely outmatched for the Saiyans of Absalon. They are in a league of their own.
And the Dragon Balls?
They will remain in your soul. I cannot undo Shenron's magic.
So we can no longer use the Dragon Balls to resurrect people?
No, we can't.
See, in Dragon Ball Absalon, this is an actual fear where you can't use the Dragon Balls, so you cannot wish everyone back to life, and so you are limited into exactly what you can do when you're fighting. You can't just throw your life away or throw away the lives of millions of people, and there are actual stakes. In Dragon Ball Super, there are so many different ways to revive people, whether it be Whis, whether it be the Grand Priest, Dragon Balls from Namek, Earth, or Super Dragon Balls. So this already makes Dragon Ball Absalon way better than Dragon Ball Super in my opinion. I love it when a story has stakes, and the fact that the Dragon Balls are lost in Goku's soul definitely gives the story the weight that it deserves. And that's right, we finally got Goku back. So we are on Dragon Ball Absalon episode 9. Yes, 9. And the episode begins with Goku and Piccolo going to Kibito Kai because Kibito Kai was the mastermind behind basically breaking all the rules when it comes to Heaven and Earth and bringing Goku back into the fold, having him being sent back to planet Earth to face off against the rogue Saiyans from Absalon. So what is the epic plan? Well, essentially Kibito Kai is going to give up his life for Goku and Piccolo to return back to the land of the living. Now, how is this possible? Well, Kibito Kai is going to defuse himself, and then the both entities that make him up will give up their lives subsequently to these two characters. And he explains that the Kai life will go to Piccolo, and the reason is simple, because Piccolo is essentially the spawn of the Demon King, and he can hold the essence of the Kai far more than just a normal mortal can. So with him holding the essence of the Kai, this is going to let Piccolo's growth actually accelerate as a fighter, as a combatant, and as a warrior, making him a brand new level of Namekian that we've never seen in any iteration of Dragon Ball. And the Kibito portion is going to be going to, obviously, Goku. But the only drawback that we have here is that Goku, again, is breaking the laws by going back to Earth, and he is stunted in how strong he can actually get at first. It's going to take a while before he can actually fit his groove and get back to how strong he was at the end of Dragon Ball GT. So at this point in time, since Goku has been essentially in purgatory for so long, he is the weaker of the combatants that have faced the warriors of Absalon. So this is where we get to the best part of the story of this episode, and that is essentially we are in a Potara bargain sale, because the Kibito Kai has spent years creating brand new Potaras that do wildly different things. It's like this really cool fanny pack that Piccolo gets to wear, where these Potaras have different abilities. You can remove them from your ears to defuse, so instead of them having stupid time limits, they can actually physically separate people if you take the Potara earrings off. And one of the coolest things is that the Potara earrings will amplify the power of the strongest of the warriors within them, so that warrior is 10 times more powerful. So the way that basically it is explained is, say, in these Potara situations, if you fuse, say, your Goku and you fuse with Hercule, which we actually got a what if for, he would drastically get weaker because Hercule will pull him down. That is no longer a problem. Goku, if he had fused with Hercule with one of these Potaras, he actually would be far stronger than he was before, and this new Hercule Goku hybrid would be powerful enough to face off against Majin Buu or any other threats. There is no real power down to the Potara earrings anymore, and I think that's one of the coolest aspects of Dragon Ball Absalon at the moment. So Kibito Kai actually quite literally gives up his life and dies. Both of them die right in front of Goku and Piccolo. It's not like when in Dragon Ball Z, you know, to be fair, Elder Kai passed away, he gave up his life, and then he just kind of stood back up and he had the halo on his head. That was a comedic moment, but again, the whole not being able to die really removes the weight from the story, and Dragon Ball Z had this a little bit. Dragon Ball Super has gone off the rails with it, so this is a really cool little moment that shows the gravity of the situation. Now I wanted to start explaining how awesome this portion is at the beginning of this review, but I figure now that we're getting to the Vegeta part, this is where you guys can actually really see it. This is the best Dragon Ball Absalon has ever looked. This is the greatest the animation has ever been, and we get to see the growth from the beginning episode to now, which is years in the making. This episode actually came out in 2019, guys, and we can see that the influence from Dragon Ball Super is in some of these parts. Specifically, when Goku gets his life back, he seems to go into Ultra Instinct Omen a little bit, so we get to see like the influence from Super in this, but it's not really that heavy. Vegeta is on a rampage, going through different planets and ending alien civilizations, it seems like. It doesn't really make it clear whether he's defeating bad guys, he's defeating good guys. He's just kind of fighting these monsters in Super Saiyan 3, and he is a beefy boy. He is swole as fuck, and then transforms into a Super Saiyan 4, where he sort of retains that Super Saiyan 3 hairstyle. It is a really cool look for Vegeta, and I definitely enjoyed this whole scene where he is facing off against these creatures. It's almost like this is World Ender Vegeta, and I am totally here for it. But here is the moment you guys have been waiting for. Vegeta is just here, a smile on his face. He left his family in GT, so this is a Vegeta really doesn't care about family as opposed to his Dragon Ball Super counterpart. So he's just kind of having fun and relaxing and just really happy with his growth and himself and just sitting here. And then we get the reunion of Goku and Vegeta. And remember, Vegeta thought that Goku was gone forever. So go ahead and check out this amazing moment right here.
Vegeta! Kakarot!
Hey!
Whoa! Kakarot! You look ridiculous!
Huh? No way! That's awesome! Alright!
With all the bullshit that's been going on in Dragon Ball Absalon that the Z Fighters had to take from the Saiyans from Absalon, it is a breath of fresh air to see Goku and Vegeta. They weren't the main catalyst to the story, obviously, from the very beginning, but it's finally seeming like they're going to be part of the journey, and it actually seems that Vegeta is the more powerful one out of this combo because Goku has the nerf that he can't really gain all his strength, or he can't have access to all his strength right away, so he is at a disadvantage. And this is when we go back to planet Earth. This is a preview to the next episode, and you see that not only is Gohan defeated by the Saiyans from Absalon, but Oob is on his last leg against them. These guys are no joke. And even with the fused combination of Goku and Vegeta, this doesn't seem like it's going to be an easy fight for either of them. But now that we've seen the Book of Zykor, this could be a prequel to that, because in that book we get to see that Vegito is actually all alive and well. So this could be a prequel to that. We don't know.
Leave with Krillin and go home before your mother gets worried.
But Dad, what if you need me? What if you lose?
You'll have to flee, Rukido.
I'm not a coward.
There'll be no other choice.
I'm not a...
Rukido.
I'm not a coward.
Rukido.
I'm not a coward, Dad.
There'll be no other choice.
I want a story to tell.
Damn it.
No! No! No!
It has been almost 2 years since the last new episode of Dragon Ball Absalon, and today, in a stroke of luck, we have episode 10, the continuation of this awesome story. And if you guys love Dragon Ball Absalon as much as I do, I'm going to leave a link to my top 10 reasons why Dragon Ball Absalon is better than Dragon Ball Super in the description below in the top comment. Go ahead and check out that video, give it some love, because a lot of those reasons you'll get to see here in today's episode of Dragon Ball Absalon. So make sure you go ahead and check it out, because today we have brand new transformations, brand new plot twist, and the continuation of the Gohan versus Lieutenant Kosho fight. So let's go ahead and jump right in to Dragon Ball Absalon episode 10. As you guys saw, after Kosho defeated Gohan, Gohan's son came in trying to assist him in any way that he could, and to me, honestly, I don't really like this character too much. He's too whiny. He takes every aspect of the whiny Gohan that we got in Dragon Ball and amplifies it like 100 times. Plus the fact that he just won't leave the battlefield when Gohan's like telling him to get the fuck out of here. Yeah, that also is kind of annoying, and that's the reason that he finds himself in hot water at the beginning of episode 10, where he has essentially interrupted the entire battle. But I am jumping a little ahead of myself because Dragon Ball Absalon has a new song for its intro. Go ahead and check it out. Personally, for me, I love the original song, but I feel that Melavelli has gotten into some issues with it when it comes to this Dragon Ball fan animation, so I do like that he actually changed it, and I do like the new version. It definitely sounds far more traditional, less techno-ish than the last one, but I definitely feel like it has a place in Dragon Ball. It feels Dragon Ball to me. Krillin tries to convince Gohan's son to leave, but it is too late, and that is when Lieutenant Kosho, he finally shows up and begins to explain to Gohan how inferior the Half Saiyans actually are, how he also makes sure that Gohan knows that basically the fight between both of them is hopeless for Gohan, and Kosho wants to add insult to injury, and he takes Gohan's son by the head and begins to threaten his life, breaking his neck, breaking his arm. He tells Gohan that he'll do what he has to get the response from Gohan that he wants. And this scene was a little bit weird for me because of the fact that Gohan doesn't seem to have much of a reaction at all to his son being, you know, his life being threatened. Throughout all of this, Gohan kind of just keeps this face the entire time, so maybe he finds his son as annoying as I do, but it is a moment where Gohan realizes that he has to make an impossible decision. Kosho tells him that you either choose the life of your son or you choose the life of the planet. And even when Gohan's mulling over the decision, it's almost like he's talking about his son like he's not his son. Like he says, Videl won't ever forgive me if I abandon our son in hopes of saving the Earth. I kind of wish that Gohan's anguish was shown a little bit more in his mannerisms, his facial expressions, and his voice, but Gohan finally chooses the option that is something that, you know, any father would have probably chosen right away, and that is sacrifice the Earth, keep his son. And Kosho says, you know what, I'm gonna make the decision for you. I'm going to save the lives of everyone on this planet. And he shoots the energy ball through his son, killing him instantly. When I was watching this in the premiere, I almost shit myself because I was like thinking in my head, man, this kid is going to die, but like in a joking way. And then he actually kills him, and I'm like, oh my god, this is some intense Dragon Ball. Like, this kid is dead, and even though the lack of Gohan's reaction really doesn't cement the fact that this kid is dead, well, I mean, the Krillin reaction actually does. Like, Krillin has more of a reaction that this dude is dead more than Gohan does. But as we gear up for the inevitable, your sibling or someone you care about and love about died, so you're about to transform scene, you start seeing that Gohan actually starts showing emotion. He's crying, holding the lifeless body of his son, and he is ready to flip the fuck out. He starts remembering how his fear, his pain, all that stuff, it's still inside of him from the moment he was a child to the time that he was in the Cell Arc. That Gohan is still there, and once he remembers that Gohan is still alive in me, and to me, the best transition that I've seen in this episode with the teen Gohan, or quote-unquote teen Gohan, overlaying the adult Gohan, Gohan begins to transform into a brand new transformation that we have never seen before, and Cyborg calls it Primitive Instinct. Now, this is one of the more interesting transformations that I've seen in Dragon Ball in a while, and I commend Melavelli for bringing a brand new transformation with such a cool name and a really interesting sort of design. It has everything you love about Super Saiyan 3, but it is elevated. It is called Primitive Instinct, guys, and it essentially is what Ultra Instinct is, but for those who lose control and go into sort of this ethereal state. It brings out all your primitive ambitions and desires and makes you lose control in a very similar way to the Berserker, but in a transformation that looks just like Gon from Hunter x Hunter when he fights Pitou at the end of the Chimera Ant arc. Looks almost exactly like that, and when he attacks Kosho, he attacks him with full force, ferocity, fighting in a completely different manner than he was fighting earlier, and not using any techniques or anything. Honestly, this looks more like Broly. The way Broly fights, that's the way he's fighting right now, throwing Kosho all around, and it's cool because his eyes turn red, the aura around his body is red, the Super Saiyan 3 hair is just kind of floating up instead of going backwards. It is a really, really cool fight, and honestly, this was the highlight for me in this episode. This was really interesting to see, and I can't wait to see more of this transformation. But what ends up happening is that Gohan gets the upper hand and is ready to kill Kosho, but he starts losing control of the transformation. He doesn't want to use it subconsciously all the way because he will run out his ki, he will run out his strength, and so he goes back to Super Saiyan 4, which you're gonna see isn't enough to face off against the lieutenant. And as Gohan desperately tries to avenge his son's death and vows that he will do so, he attacks Kosho in Super Saiyan 4 with everything he has. And personally for me, I always loved Gohan in Super Saiyan 4. I don't know why, I feel like it suits him, like the design always suits him. And Gohan tries to do his best, but he's still not strong enough in this form to face off against a beaten Kosho. And that is when Majub jumps in and takes on Kosho along with Super Saiyan 4 Gohan. And they bounce this dude around like a fucking pinball. Doesn't know which way is up. And Cyborg has to step in to make sure that Kosho does not die, because he realizes how unique and powerful Majub actually is. He doesn't understand where this guy came from and what exactly his story is, and since he's not a Saiyan, he is going to give the order that you can kill this guy, and Cyborg tries to do it on his own. And when Majub tries to face off against Cyborg, that's when you realize that Cyborg actually has some moves. It is the first time we're seeing him fight, and he definitely knows what he's doing. Even though it seems that Majub is more powerful, Cyborg is able to read all of Majub's movements, making it so he cannot hurt him. The battle becomes heated, and even Pan jumps in, trying to do something, but obviously she's not powerful enough to take on any of these characters, but at least she tries. That's the reason I really like Dragon Ball Absalon Pan. This episode is chock full of action, and I would like you guys to actually go watch the episode on its own. I'm gonna leave a link to it in the description below in the top comment. Go watch this episode and support Melavelli's Dragon Ball Absalon. Check it out for yourselves, that way you guys can go ahead and see this action full out. It's 20 minutes of hardcoreness, and this is some prime TV right here. And you get to see that Majub starts losing control at the end of this episode, and that is when we realize that he's basically caged up Kid Buu inside himself, very similar to what Naruto does with the Kyuubi. And because he's done that, the more he fights, the more of the Buu energy he releases, and the more out of control he gets, till the end where he actually loses complete control. Buu breaks out of his prison, and now he is in the world. Now, has he taken over Majub's body? Is Majub going to use him? Is he connected to Majub's body? We have no idea. There is no way to tell what is going on, if he's a new player on the scene now, a player of chaos. It would be cool to see Buu fight any of these characters, even the bad ones, but unless Buu's power gauged and risen with the power of Majub, and rose with the power of Majub, then he's really no match for any of these characters. But I think that more than likely they're going to make him stronger, and that is going to be the end of Absalon episode 10. We do get a scene here where Dende tries to heal Gohan's son, but as Dragon Ball Absalon loves to have consequences, there is no bringing back Gohan's son. He is completely gone forever, and that is the end of this episode, guys. This was awesome. I cannot wait to jump into more Dragon Ball Absalon stuff. I've talked to Melavelli, and he's gave me the A-OK to review the mangas that he's got on his website, so I'm going to continue on with that. This is going to be BlackScape signing off. Take care, guys.
Subscribe for more content. Or perish.